Welcome to another episode. Oh, wait. I'm going to back up. It's
Yeah.
not another episode of
Special.
Podawans. It's the first episode of a pond between. Shit.
We're so
A pod
excited.
between. I know. So excited. I'm screwing it up. This is our first episode of Pod Between Worlds. It's our Star Wars show under the Podawans name. Today, we're going to talk about the wicked exciting Clone Wars episode and then some Mandalorian leaks and possibly a new show or announce a new show and some other stuff that's dropping on May 4th.
Yeah.
So first up, we're going to talk about the Mandalorian. Ollie, I don't know if you want to kick that off, but
Yeah, so this came out a little while ago, but I thought it was interesting and just kind of some fun fodder to add to the episode. There was a leak of the Mandalorian Season 2 episode names. If I had to put a percentage on this, I would say it's like probably 10% chance
10%?
that these are true.
Wow.
Everything I've read says this is way too early for them to come out, even if they did get leaked like that.
Well,
like there's still a lot of I don't know. I'm not in the movie business and the TV business, but everything I've read from the people that I get most of the Star Wars news from, they're into it. They're going to discuss it, but they're like, it seems too early for there to even be names. Never mind them leaked. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Didn't they finish production though?
Yeah. Again, I'm not a TV person, but I think they said that a lot of times they name episodes later. I don't know. Look, It's not my expertise. I'm just telling you, there's a healthy chance that these are not what the official names are, but I think it'll be fun to check out.
One of the interesting things on the episode names, the very last episode, so chapter 8, they're calling it the Empire, which is very interesting since at that point, so we're 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And
let's just I'll read them off to you. Ready?
Yeah.
So it's eight chapters. They're all chapter 1, chapter 2. So 8 episodes, it seems like. And what we have is chapter 1, the search. Chapter 2, the confrontation. Chapter 3, the bounty. Chapter 4, the Republic. Chapter 4, the loyalist. Chapter 5, the loyalist. Sorry. Chapter 6, the sorcerer. Chapter 7, the return. And chapter 8, the empire.
Yeah,
so pretty cool, I think. I like the whole the thing. Kind of different TV shows have done that. It reminds me a little bit in a different way of the Friends thing, where every Friends episode is the one where we grilled, right? Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. So I think it's kind of neat to have a theme. You know what I mean? Not that that's a theme. I don't know how to describe it, but I think that's neat. So I like the sound of it. There's definitely some interesting stuff you can draw from it. Yeah, so what were you going to say about the Empire? Because the Empire's been gone for 5 years.
Well, not gone for 5 years. It's been, well technically not.
Yeah.
So
after the Return of the Jedi. Yep.
It's after the Battle of Jakku. It just doesn't make sense to me that why would you? I don't know. That episode sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Because at that point,
my guess,
it's kind of first order type stuff that's going to probably come into
right.
They're not really called an empire either.
My guess would be if this is semi-true, right? So there's some truth to it, but it's not perfect. My guess would be that episode is not the Empire; it's the Emperor, which would make a lot more sense.
The Emperor.
My whole, remember, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at what episode it was, but I talked a lot about my theory, which I am pretty positive this is the general way it's going to go. Obviously, little details aside, I am pretty sure I'm going to do one of my whiteboard series on this because it's tough, convoluted to explain. But basically, I'm pretty convinced that Gideon is one of the first people that's actually part of the final order. So he knows about the Emperor. He knows about the whole thing. He knows that the Empire fell, right? The First Order is getting built in the unknown regions. and everybody thinks the First Order is going to be the thing to like the final thing, but he's in contact with the Emperor, kind of like Admiral Pride from Rise of Skywalker. There were a few. It was described that there were a few people like super loyalists, which is one of the episodes, that Palpatine trusted with knowing about him, whereas the First Order thought Palpatine was gone. Right? They were rebuilding this new thing, whereas the whole plan was that there was actually the Final Order. So my whole thing is, I think this whole storyline where it's going is that because we know Palpatine was trying to clone and get clone bodies with Force sensitivity and stuff like that for him to take over, I think Gideon is his head guy going out and finding Force sensitives to like try to study them and get clone information. That leads back to the whole thing why they want the Baby Yoda, why the doctor is like has the Camino clone sleeve, the whole thing. Why it makes Gideon's line of like, you have something that means more to me than you'll ever know, right? Like it. Yeah. So I think that's the whole storyline. So if I'm correct, a lot of these titles start to kind of lead me down that same path. Again, these probably won't be the titles, but like this to me starts because you start to talk about like the Republic's building up, right? That's an episode. The Loyalist, that could be Gideon. The Sorcerer, the Sorcerer could be Palpatine, or it could be like a light side Jedi that he runs into, like a former Jedi when he's trying to find Baby Yoda's home, right? Could be Yaddle. A lot of people think Yaddle will appear. I don't think so much that. I think the Sorcerer actually may be Ahsoka. In her whole Gandalf the White kind of get up. The Return, which, could be like him getting the Baby Yoda back to his people, and the Empire, which, like I said, could be the Emperor, in that you see, like, that's kind of like the beginning. You get to see Exegol in the early stages, right? It's a weird way to go. The only thing I would say is that we already know they're working on season 3. I don't know where that leaves you moving into a season 3, if you know what I mean. But in my own bias of where I think the story is going, these titles seem to kind of, what's it called? Confirmation bias, or like what, like you see stuff that, you know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, so I think this is kind of neat. So at the very least, I think the people who made this stuff up may have the same idea as me, and they're trolling people like me who think this is where it's going.
Yeah, I mean,
because I agree with you, the Empire doesn't really make a ton of sense as a.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It would make more sense as like the first episode if they were going to get into exactly how the Empire fell to this point, like what's happened, like if they did a little background on Gideon.
Yeah,
that would almost make sense. But for it to be late in the last episode of the season, doesn't that seem? You're right. I think that seems weird.
I mean, maybe chapter 5 would be related to that. It could be a flashback.
Yep. I think we'll get a little bit of a flashback to. Well, you know what?
There could be a lot more.
Again, it's a little late. I don't think it would be the last episode, but the Empire could be what we thought, that when we're going to see like a flashback to the Night of 1,000 Tears that Gideon was a part of. Yeah, the purge of the Mandalorians. Yeah, that would make sense. I don't know why that would be episode 8 though, but who knows? Maybe
it's somehow tied into whatever story we'll be going down. I mean,
so it's a fun little game to speculate. We'll keep an eye on them. I don't think these are going to be the final titles, but at the very least, maybe they're working titles. So at least it's giving us some idea of the story. You know what I mean? And then they'll fine tune them as they go.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see where that goes. And actually, speaking of Mandalorian, there was so May the 4th.
Yep.
There's was it the behind the scenes is being released for season 1. On Disney, I believe that's on Disney Plus. I'm assuming that.
Yep.
And then Rise of Skywalker comes to Disney Plus finally. So if you want to watch all the movies, you can finally watch all the movies.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So, I'm looking forward to watching that again for a lot of my like breakdown stuff, like aliens in the background and that ship. When all the ships come in, I really want to be able to like see it myself, because all the pictures online are like not as high a quality as you can pause it on your TV screen. You know what I mean? And see.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see it again, but I'm to not be able to see it for 4 or 5 months when you're trying to do stuff like this, where you're trying to like find specific weird aliens or weird ships and like see callbacks. It's tough to do when you're using other people's like bootleg foot. You know what I mean? Like they're putting it on YouTube, so you only have so much to look through. So,
or on Reddit or anything like that too.
Right.
Yeah. That'll be cool though. I mean, we'll finally be able to watch all the movies in order. You can, or,
yeah,
you know,
yep, little marathon. Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting to rewatch it, obviously, just because you know I just want to get rehash everything and try to pick out some of the things like you're saying.
Where did you get to with Brenna?
So we watched Empire Strikes Back, and yeah, we're kind of there. We're just.
Did you do the prequels, or you just did A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back?
Just those two.
Oh, okay.
We haven't gone any further.
All right.
I'm not sure if we're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
She didn't. Empire she thought was better, but
not her thing.
Not. No, I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, like, I kind of was trying to get her to watch Rogue One because I was like, if Rogue One's a little bit different from the regular movies,
right? It wasn't made in the 70s. Yeah.
Solo too is
Solo's a good one.
To me would be a good one because it's not straightforward Star Wars,
right? And it's just fun, like in and of itself. You don't have to know anything.
Yeah, I mean, she watched The Mandalorian too. She saw a few episodes of that actually, and she thought it was okay. She wasn't. Like,
I can see that. Yeah,
definitely won't watch it again. So it's just not up her alley. But I mean, we'll keep, hopefully I get her to watch the prequels and we'll see what she thinks. But Rise of Skywalker might be a good one to watch too. I mean, the newer movies, despite how I feel about them, she might like them more just because of production wise, how they look. And
they did well with non-Star Wars fans, not in like a cynical, like a crappy way. I just mean like. People did enjoy them just for like entertainment value.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like if you like the story itself, like you can say all the flaws and everything like that. Those movies look awesome. They look phenomenal.
And even the story itself, like I think some people who don't care about the overall lore, and again, this is weird for me to say because I don't mind it. I'm not in love with the sequel series, but I like it. I enjoyed it a lot. But if you're not a super lore person, even if you've seen them like in the years past kind of thing, like the new ones, their self-contained story wasn't really the problem. It was how it related to everything else. You know what I mean? So if you weren't like a diehard Luke fan and needed him in your mind to be like this superhero, when you watch, you know what I mean? So many of the things that are the shortcomings, if you will, of the sequel series are really just people's expectations on it. You know what I mean? Not really the overall delivery, at least in my opinion.
You could probably say the same thing for the prequels too in some way. I mean, the story itself, obviously there was issues with the story, a lot more probably with the prequels, but at the same time, it's the same thing. It's like, how is that related to the original trilogy?
Yeah.
And like,
I think they'll age well. The prequels aged well. I think these will age well. It's just it's kind of that culture right now where it's not cool to like anything new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they're perfect. I just think they got unfairly bashed because of a kind of a tough fan base sometimes. You know what I mean?
Oh, like me?
No, I mean, not even you. You have some real criticisms because you weren't a huge EU person. It's like those people that like had the EU. Although your Luke thing, I know ruined it for you, but like the people who read a lot of those EU books and had this universe already set up for them that was completely changed. I've read the EU, most of the EU stuff, so like I can compare the EU storyline to this storyline, and I think now that it's all done, I honestly think the EU one might have been more fun for me overall. But that being said, I do still like where they went with it. It's different, and some people don't do well with different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the EU, it seems like they tie. I don't know. It
was a little more straightforward. Luke became the good guy. You know what I mean? There wasn't this. I honestly think, as much as I would have preferred that, I think what Rian Johnson did with Luke was more creative. Actually, what the trilogy did with Luke was a little bit more creative. It was way more risky. Because it's easy to make the guy who's the hero at the end of Return of the Jedi, it's easy to make him just a superhero again. who has all the force powers in the world. I think wasn't the original. There was a bunch of different writing stuff that, like, at the end of Return of the Jedi, one of the original scripts was like Luke turned bad, or like, I don't know, just that's what Lucas wanted him to do. Yeah, kind of thing. So like, it is what it is. But
but
so that's coming out, so we'll get to see it. The Mandalorian behind the scenes will be fun. I haven't looked a ton into that because I'm just going to watch it and enjoy it. So I don't really know what they're getting into. I'm interested. I know they're talking about the technology, the video game thing, where they're actually on a big screen. So it's not really green screen. You can actually like see what the people are going to see in the show.
I've stayed away from it just because I want to. I kind of
be surprised.
Yeah. I kind of did the same with Clone Wars and that sort of, like, just anything like that. I try to video games too. Like, I try
just jump in when it comes out.
Yeah, it's one. I mean, Fallen Order, for instance, like, we kind of jumped into that just because it was related to Star Wars and we wanted to get to know it.
Right.
But like, unless it's a game that I'm not sure about, I rather, be surprised. Same with movies. I'd rather be surprised. I'd rather not look up stuff and then be like, oh,
yeah,
what the hell.
I can't. So, I'm too anxious. But I do. I wish I could. It would be more fun. Yeah.
I did. I mean, I stayed away from it. But
I stayed away from Rise of Skywalker a little bit, only like we talked about, because that there was like that leak that like everybody said was legit. That was like the whole script. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in like a bunch of people speculating, and one will be right, but he'll be wrong about 3 things and right about 1. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool to me. But like, if someone just goes, "Here's the script," like, I don't want to just read the movie. You know? What I mean?
You don't. Yeah,
that's weird.
Really.
Yeah.
But so that's so the Mandalorian behind the scenes and Rise of Skywalker, they're coming to Disney Plus on May 4th. Check those out if you don't have Disney Plus. Go get it. Definitely worth it. I'm sure if you're a Star Wars fan listening, you probably already have that. Another thing that was announced, speaking of Disney Plus, was there was a new show supposedly in the works that is female focused. And I haven't seen much beyond that. Supposedly that's in the works though.
They said something about it being in an era that hasn't been explored yet. Was the other thing that I read. But from some of the little speculation I read, that was like, would it be considered an area not explored yet if you did like kind of where the Mandalorian's taking place, maybe a little after that, and it could be the Ahsoka and Sabine thing or something related to them, because it really hasn't been explored, that gap, that long 30-year gap, other than the Mandalorian now. But you know what I'm saying. But the way they made it sound was like it's in a totally different time. So we have the High Republic now, or it's coming out, and then we have the prequels all the way to the sequels. So it makes it seem like, are they going further in the future, or are they going further in the past?
I would argue they're not. I see, that's the thing. So I didn't know that bit, but the only thing is I haven't seen anything that's related to, is it live action? Is it a cartoon?
True.
Like,
yep.
What is
I think the director though is a live action person, right?
I didn't even see a director.
I think they named. I thought they named somebody a director that had done different shows, and all of them were live action. But to your point, it doesn't mean that they can't do animated.
Well, it hasn't been confirmed. See, that's the thing. Like, when I was reading all that stuff, it hasn't been confirmed. So that's why I'm like, I don't know how far in depth I want to get to it. The only thing is,
just mention it, like we're talking about.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just, when I think female focused show, the first thing that came to mind to me was, and what you just mentioned, Ahsoka and Sabine. The second one, in which this one I think would be a little more riskier, because if it is a live action thing, then you have to bring Vader back, and it would be Dr. Aphra, which I thought that could be a possibility.
Yeah, she's great.
She's a very popular character in comics, and she hasn't seen any screen time. But then we don't know if it's live action, don't know if it's cartoon. We have no clue.
Right. So, yep. The only thing with Aphra is they had mentioned it's not in a time period they've explored, and she is only in a time period they've explored. Right. But again, it's all rumors. So yeah. But thought worth a mention that there's another one in the works.
It'd be.
And the fact that they said female centric, and there's a ton of good Ahsoka, Sabine, Afra, like you said, there's so many options in the canon that we already have that haven't got fully explored. I mean, some people would say Ahsoka's fully explored, but I think there's a lot more to it, you know?
Yeah, but if they're talking about Ahsoka and Sabine, then you could argue that around the Mandalorian, that time period hasn't really been explored. I mean, there really isn't
other than the Mandalorian
and the Mandalorian. So like,
but it could be 10 years after the Mandalorian. You still have 15 years before Episode 7. So
yeah,
there's still plenty of time there.
So then I just it would make too much sense to be Ahsoka and Sabine, but like at the same time, they've been talking about doing a sequel series to Rebels, so it's kind of like. Yeah. That's why I'm definitely hard pressed to think it would be something else.
Yeah, no, I think that Rebels one is probably different. Yeah. Yeah.
High Republic, I feel like would be too early. Like you don't even have a movie on that time period. Why are you gonna throw a TV show at that?
I think a TV show I think a TV show for that may come out before a movie, to be honest with you.
You think so?
Yeah. I think they're gonna feel out a lot of the media in that area before they do a movie. I think a movie's coming, but I think they're going to let the books, comics, eventually there'll be a video game. I think there may be a TV show, and then maybe like 3 or 4 years down the road when it's a little bit established and people are really into some of the characters, they'll do a big movie.
Okay. I mean, that's
more business-wise that's just how I see it. But they still have a bunch, like people have said, the scheduling or whatever, almost every, like, Marvel, Avatar, everything's been backed up a little bit, and Star Wars still has all their, like, they're unnamed, but like all their movies are still set for like whatever 2022, whatever it originally was before the coronavirus thing. They're still there, and we have no information on those movies, so there's something in the works, right?
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I'm hoping for Ahsoka Sabine. That's my personal opinion on the show.
Yes, I think that's going to be animated though. But
and maybe that's what they mean.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the meat of the podcast.
All right, Clone Wars.
What an episode.
10. Huh?
I said, what an episode. These episodes are killer. This is just going to be a movie once these all come out, right?
Yeah, I just had to clarify it's episode 10 just because, we were looking up earlier.
Yeah. Phantom Apprentice. There was some confusion with Shattered or something.
Yeah. So awesome episode. That was probably my favorite so far of the season. I don't know about you. Just that fight was incredible.
Yes. Yep. This one, I kind of went back and forth on the last one that came out. I felt like it was better than Bad Batch and better than the Ahsoka little side story thing, but which wasn't surprising because I was looking forward to this story. But this one was like way better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was a great episode. And like I said, I think these last 4 are going to be watched kind of like a movie when it's all said and done. So they'll all kind of blend together.
Yep.
But
and they're definitely staging it like that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The thing that stood out to me, if we want to dive right into it, I mean, it's not going to be in any order, but the biggest thing to me that I noticed right away was that fight. It was so, I didn't know it was mocap, but as I was watching it, I'm like, what? I go, how did they, of all the fights in Rebels and in Clone Wars, and there's some great ones, right? Because you can do some different stuff with animation, like way more acrobatics, and you can make it look a little faster and perfect, right? This one felt so heavy in a good way. Like it felt so grounded. And there's this Maul move where he like double jump attacks, if that makes any sense. It's not a big jump. It's like he's like running and like skipping, and he did it in the Phantom Menace. And as it was happening, I'm like, dude, they like copied his Phantom Menace moves to the T. It was, and I never thought something would pop out like that to me. Like I if you had asked me before this, like, do you remember some of Maul's moves? I would have been like, the Qui-Gon one where he like hits him with the butt of the lightsaber. You know what I mean? Like not specifically what he did, but this one just felt I'm having trouble saying like they didn't go away from Maul, but Maul in the cartoon was different than Maul in Phantom Menace. If you know what I mean, he felt different. Yeah. This felt like the characters like collided.
He doesn't talk at all in the movie.
Right, but even movements and stuff like that, like these made the characters absolutely collide. Like he was so the Phantom Menace Maul in that fight. It was unbelievable. And then and what made it great was the Ahsoka was mocap too, by Lauren Mary Kim, who's in a bunch of stuff for stunts: Star Trek, Furious 7, Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. She was, I guess, the double for Elektra in the Daredevil Netflix series. So she was great. It just the fight. If you watch that and you watch any other cartoon fight in the Clone Wars series, this one looks different instantly.
Yeah.
Like it just feels different. Not because of the choreography, but because of the mocap. Like it just it hits more real. It was really well done. It was cool.
It definitely felt more heavy, like you were saying. It
real, I guess. Like weighted to the world. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, if you watch like some of my favorite lightsaber battles, Kenobi and Ventress when they fight Savage and Brother Savage and Savage Opress and Maul.
Yep.
You can kind of tell Kenobi like how they're just the lightsaber work in general is just so fast and it's awesome. I love it, but you can tell right there it's just like animation. It's not mocap. It's not
right.
It's not realistic, and there's a lot of like acrobats and stuff like that. That's kind of like.
It's cool when they. I think I had talked about this last time, but it's cool when they add, and this in the mocap made it feel like this to me. But there's only a few people that, and I think it's really neat. I think it adds a lot. Make the lightsaber feel heavy, especially in animation. In animation, they just feel like there's no weight to anything. You know what I mean? It's just like ding, ding, ding. They're bouncing off each other. Savage has a couple fights where he just swings it and it looks like a battle axe. Like they can't like block it, right? Like it like hits them. And Kylo fights like that. It looks like he's swinging a 30-pound hammer. You know what I mean? Which it feels, it makes it feels different. And this one, while it wasn't like, I didn't feel like either of them were swinging like a battle axe, but when the lightsabers hit, it looked and felt like it was more real. You know what I mean? Again, heavy, I guess is the best way to explain it. And it must, and then when I found out it was mocapped, I was like, because I didn't know when I was watching it. I'm just like, wow, this fight feels different. Really cool. Looks really neat. And then I saw it and I was like, wow, they did an awesome job with that.
Yeah. So does this, do you think that Ahsoka is better than, do you think she's stronger than Obi-Wan then?
No.
Just because she's taking on them all?
Oh yeah. Well, no. I mean, she said Anakin would whoop him in a second, which means that she's not better than Anakin. And who whooped Anakin? Your boy.
Well, that's because he took the higher ground. That's all it was.
Counts in a fight, doesn't it?
It was a fluke.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I took away instantly. I got a bunch of other like lore stuff, but what was your initial opinion? Was that your big thing, the fight too?
Yeah, the fight was a big thing. I think it's just an overall too, like the whole build up to that fight, and like I actually enjoyed the interactions too, just before the fight, like Ahsoka and Maul talking. Maul discussing like obviously he's alluding to Order 66 and like with the I'm probably getting into your lore stuff, but
no, I'll get into it. Yeah, but yeah,
he's alluding to that pretty much, and like all the Emperor's plans to take, just the future plans. It's right around the corner, so there's a lot of this foreshadowing and stuff in their interactions, and Ahsoka's kind of like doesn't, from her perspective, she's like, "You're gonna lose," and he's like, in this universe is about the galaxy is about to change. And he's just like just saying it bluntly, and it's kind of like, from Ahsoka's shoes, she's probably, like I said, she's probably like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like, what do you mean, like the galaxy's about to be changed? Like, those kind
and
of
she's slightly tempted because she does see that the Jedi are a little bit jaded, but like she's not like convinced. It changes when he says Anakin, and she's like, "Nah, dude, like you're full of it."
Which is funny because
he's right.
So again, like he's right. So that will be interesting to see if, you see it in Rebels. I mean, kind of, but I don't know if she has any. I don't remember specifically if there's any dialogue of her talking about Anakin as Vader in Rebels or not. I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to go watch it again. But like hearing that from Maul, and then later on seeing like how, like, does she admit that Maul was right about Anakin? Like, does she ever confirm that's something I would like to see? Like,
well, I mean, when she fights him and when she fights him, she knows, right? And then she cuts his helmet and sees Anakin's eye, and then it kind of goes Sith. I think she knows that.
Well, at that
like,
point,
he's gone, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
But like, I meant like even before.
Does she know about it in the book? Does she mention it? I think she thinks he's dead in the book.
Yeah, I believe she.
I'll have to go back and check. That'd be a good one to read now. I may reread that.
Yeah. That's. I actually wanted to read it instead of doing the audiobook, but I read that or did the audiobook so long ago.
Yeah, I did it when it first came out. Yeah. So we should do that. We should re-listen or read that. And add that as part of our commentary when we go over these 4 episodes as an arc.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so the interactions, to me, the foreshadowing from Maul was really cool. Just like how he was kind of just like, yeah, you guys are all fucked and you don't even know it. And it's just like that whole scene. I'm just like, oh yeah, he's so fucking right. And but at the same time, Ahsoka's just like, no, we're gonna, good is gonna prevail, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of my favorite interactions of the episode. So what about you? What lore did you want to dive into?
Yeah, so a couple of things I think are important and really neat and not exactly fully explained. First off, the whole, like, the joke of, like, Star Wars, it's poetry, it rhymes, like the whole meme of that thing. There's so much in this episode, it's crazy. Like, this is Filoni to a T, right? Like, he was the understudy of Lucas, and this is, like, exactly the stuff Lucas would have done. So that scene in the throne room is, like takes pieces of 2 huge scenes, and probably more throughout Star Wars, but it harkens right back, in a way, to 2 important ones. It harkens right back to Luke and the Empire, and the Emperor, on the Death Star 2 in Return of the Jedi, where Luke's sitting there watching the battle outside, and he's not taking place. You know what I mean? Again, there's differences, but it's a very similar thing, right? He's going there to overthrow the Emperor. She's going there to overthrow Maul. And there's a battle going outside while it's all going on. Yeah, well, she has to battle him to capture him, right? He's not just going to turn over. And then also the obvious one is the throne room scene with Rey and Kylo, where there's just shit burning, and then he offers her his hand, just like Kylo did. And the interesting thing about it, Kylo's trying to kill the light, but in a way he has both. The interesting thing about it is this is not a Sith reaching out to a Jedi in either of these cases, right? Both of them are really anti-Sith. Kylo's anti-Sith. Right, they're definitely dark, don't get me wrong, but they're not Sith. And both of the light side people are also not Jedi. Yeah. Right? Yeah, Rey comes from Luke's thing and is like, fuck the Jedi. Like, they're, you know what I mean? And Ahsoka obviously left the Jedi. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. I think the cool thing about this scene too, in the context of the whole thing, is that Maul, while he was in the Phantom Menace, his role at that time was completed when he died, right? He was to kill Qui-Gon and get killed by Obi-Wan, and he was just kind of a plot device, right? To move the Sith along and kind of start the whole Sidious thing, right? Yeah. It's really neat to see, if you're into canon, how intertwined Maul and Ahsoka both are while never showing up in the other movies and never being mentioned. Yep. Because they weren't. Right? They like, I mean, let's be honest, they wrote this after. Like, I'm not trying to say they knew this was happening the whole time, but I'm saying it's insanely seamless, and it adds so much to Attack of the Clones and specifically Revenge of the Sith. Anakin's arc is bolstered 5,000 times by Ahsoka. It fits perfectly. And Maul now, who kind of was the butt of a lot of jokes at first, like, is almost on par with her. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was really neat to see these two there talking about Order 66, which he doesn't know, but he knows something's coming. While that's all going to be going on, with two characters that don't show up in the movies and don't even get mentioned, yet add a ton to the story. I thought that was fascinating. The other thing that's just important to notice is that Maul, I think some people got the wrong impression here. Maul doesn't know the plan. He just has figured out that Sidious is in control, and he's been convinced of Sidious's overall power in the fall of the Jedi. He does not know Order 66. He doesn't know they have chips in their head. He doesn't know that whole thing. He understands that it's coming. Though? No, he doesn't understand I don't even know that he knows that they're a part of it. He just knows it's all going to turn. He doesn't know, some people took it as he knows Sidious's plan to the T. He doesn't. He doesn't even know, when he mentions Anakin, if you watch it again, he doesn't know that he thinks Anakin's working with Sidious this whole time. Kind of like Dooku, except he's still in the Jedi Order. He doesn't know that Anakin hasn't turned yet. At this point, when he's saying that, Anakin's still a Jedi.
Does he? Yeah, but does he still? So you remember when Palpatine he goes to Mandalore and he
fights these two. Yeah.
Yeah, he fights.
He kills Savage. Yeah.
Does anything happen after that though, where Maul talks about what the aftermath of that was? Because all we see is him.
No, it sent him reeling, and it made him realize how powerful Sidious was. And that was his complete change. For a while there, he was trying to become right, like his apprentice kind of thing, again, improve himself. And that was the turning point in him realizing that he was never a part of Sidious's plan. His role was fulfilled when he was cut in half. And Sidious doesn't need him, doesn't want him, is way more powerful than him. It made Maul kind of realize he was completely useless to, you know what I mean? And it made him turn on Sidious. And the Sith, really, in general. So that's when he puts together, right, that's when he kind of really starts to put together the Shadow Collective and get that all built up, because he realizes this impending doom is going to happen. And this whole thing is just him grasping to be able to stay alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the whole Son of Dathomir comic, when he kind of tries to go at Sidious with Tyrannus and with Talzin, and that whole thing goes south. So it's Savage was the beginning of that. And then that was kind of he realizes Sidious has no, he's not part of the plan. He thought he was always going to be able to beat Sidious kind of thing. And then he realizes he so his thing is he can't beat Sidious. So he's figured out that Anakin is his chosen one, basically. So his goal is to kill Anakin. That's why he wanted Obi-Wan there, because he thought he could flip Obi-Wan. The thing he doesn't get, though, is that it seems to me that he thinks Anakin's already turned. Yeah. So he doesn't. My point is, he knows basically the through line. He has the 5,000-foot view. He knows this shit's going down, right? He doesn't know how and the specifics of it. So I thought that was important to mention, because I think some people think and it changes the story, right? Because if he knows everything, it would make sense to tell Ahsoka these things and prove it, because that would stop Sidious from doing this. He doesn't know the timetables. He just knows it's coming, not how. He's just scrambling to put stuff in place, because like even when Mandalore's going to shit, he doesn't stay around and like help them. He's like, I'm out. Good job, bud. Like, die a hero or whatever. He is just trying to survive the craziness that's about to happen. He has no idea what it is. He just knows it's happening. So I just thought that was important, because I think some people think he knows like Sidious's plan to the T. He knows Order 66. He knows how it works. He knows that Anakin's gonna turn. He doesn't know any of that. He just knows that it's like this thing is happening.
Right.
And I think it was made relatively clear, if you know that, his like the way he talks about Anakin is as if Anakin's already, he's talking about it like he's in Sidious's mind, where Sidious knows he's going to turn Anakin, right?
Yeah.
But Anakin's not turned at this point. And I think that'll play an interesting point. I had a quick note on this. I think it'll be interesting to see how they do if Ahsoka tries to get in touch with Obi-Wan, the Council, or Anakin. Now that Maul said this, obviously, she probably thinks he's crazy, but it's hinted something to her that she's at least interested in, right? I don't think she believes him 100%, but she just wants to make sure. And I thought about this. I thought the timing would be super interesting. If she's not able to get a hold of Kenobi because he's on Utapau, right? And she's not able to get a hold of Anakin for whatever reason. Say the only people she can get a hold of is the Jedi Council. And hear me out here. She gets a hold of the Jedi Council, which would be Mace Windu at this point, because Yoda's on Kashyyyk, or at least that's where he should be heading, is Kashyyyk, right? So she gets a hold of Mace right before Anakin comes back and says that Palpatine's the Sith Master, right? She gets a hold of Mace right before this and goes, Maul's talking about the Sidious guy that's in charge of everything, and that Anakin's, and she just tells him what Maul said. You know what I mean? Not fully believing it, but saying it. Now imagine the context that adds if right before Anakin goes and sees Windu in the hangar and says, Palpatine is Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord we've been looking for. And then what does Windu do? He goes, all right, we're going to go arrest him, right? And Anakin goes, I'll come with you. And he goes, no, you can't come with me. If what you say is true, you will have gained my trust. Doesn't that, not that Windu likes him to begin with, right?
Right.
But if you add on top of that, 5 minutes before that, or whatever, an hour before, the day before, Windu just gets a call from Ahsoka that says, look, Maul's talking all crazy and shit, and he says that Sidious is in charge, which Obi-Wan had mentioned, so you guys know this name from Dooku, right? Yeah. So, like, you've heard this name before. Maul says he's in charge of everything, this dude, and he says Anakin is his apprentice, which is obviously bullshit, and Windu probably goes, yeah. But imagine if he had just heard that, and then Anakin comes to him right after and goes, I found the Sith Lord. That's exactly what Windu would do. He'd go, dude, you ain't coming with me to fight, like, to arrest him. Like if you stay here, we'll arrest him, and then if that all goes down, then I'll believe you. Yeah. Right? Doesn't that kind of give it context? I mean, Windu would do that anyways. I don't think it, like, changes the story in essence, but I think that'd be a neat little through line.
Yeah, I'd like to see where that goes. Well, it'll be interesting the next 2 episodes just to see what happens. We have two more left. So
I think we're gonna get the Order 66 next week or in a couple days, and then the final one I think will be the end of Order 66 / like Ahsoka and Rex figuring that whole thing out and going their separate ways.
That will probably be on May 4th too, I think. I'd imagine.
Is it releasing early? That'd be cool.
I don't know. That'd be cool if it did. It would make too much sense, but so Friday's May 1st, so then that would be Monday, but we'll see. Yeah, so my
last note was that there was a cool little I noticed him at first. I didn't know who it was, so I had to go back and look, but Dryden Voss was in this episode. He was one of the holograms of the Pikes and the Black Sun. So I thought that was neat. I immediately saw the 3 and I was like, wait, who is that? I go, that's somebody important, because obviously they've only shown the Black Sun and the Pike Syndicate. So and I didn't catch him at first. I just, because cartoon, he looked like Hux to me, but I knew it wasn't Hux, and I was just like, oh, who is that? And then I went back and looked it up, and it makes a lot of sense. But it's a cool connection to Solo. I mean, that's the stuff I think they've done a good job with in the animation stuff, making those connections. So so that's it. I mean, that's it for me. I don't know if I missed anything or.
So you think just going forward, you think next episode will be Order 66, and then the following episode will be the aftermath of that? You think that's how it's going to play out?
Yeah, in general terms. I can't quite figure out exactly how they're going to time everything, because I would have thought this episode would have ended more on a cliffhanger and less on Maul being captured. And then the beginning of next week's episode, they would have captured Maul, then Order 66. Okay, so I'm not sure how this whole... maybe it gives them time. Maybe we're going to get some stuff other than the Siege of Mandalore. Maybe we'll see some of the Jedi Council stuff. And because a full episode... Well, and again, like we talked about, not to get off track, but Order 66 is weird for Mandalore, right? Yeah. Because there's no Jedi there.
Nope.
And I had read, because I went back, I know you asked me about when did Rex take his chip out. Someone, I thought he had taken it out in an episode, but I was wrong. He mentions he took it out in Rebels, not in Clone Wars. That's what I was remembering, because he points to the scar. Right. So, and someone said in this episode they've been looking at his head and he has no scar. So it will be interesting, because now it'll make a little more sense, right? Because if technically Ahsoka's not a Jedi. Right. So maybe that's the catch, that they're able to, the clones on Mandalore, or maybe just Rex, but they're able, let's just go with Rex. Let's say the other clones kind of get weird about it. But maybe that's the little offset that allows Rex to kind of overpower his programming, because technically she's not a Jedi. And then because he felt that urge and he realizes if there wasn't that technicality, like the chip would have taken over and he would have done that. Yeah. Maybe that's how he finds out and then takes the chip out, right? Because I think they know about the chip because of the guy, when they went and the guy went crazy or whatever, and they did take it out of one of them. Someone has it out. I'm gonna go back and watch that. I get all the clones' names confused, but someone already does have it out, so maybe he'll realize that's part of the chip. Yeah, takes it out in that episode, because again, that's the interesting thing about Mandalore. Will they turn on her because she was a Jedi? Yep. And if they don't, do they just start hearing about it, and then Ahsoka's in a weird spot, so she has to disappear? You know, so there's gonna have to be kind of chaos there. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'd like to see how she reacts to the whole Order 66 stuff, just in general. Just it'll definitely clear up that whole storyline with at least Ahsoka and Rex, just to see what happens with that. I'm more and more thinking that probably all the clones turn. Rex is able to override it for that reason, just somehow override it. Like, you know what I mean? She just escapes into the tunnels or something, almost dies. Maul gets away. Maybe Maul plays a role in her not getting killed. Like he kind of escapes and like defends her for 1 second. You know what I mean? And then, well, yeah, that in the chaos. You know what I mean? And then Rex is able to figure it out within that time period, and he goes and finds her and says, "This is what happened." You know what I mean? Because then he would have firsthand knowledge of it. So that would make the episode a little longer. And then I think the last episode is going to be more of a farewell thing. I think we'll see a lot of the Order 66 montage. Maybe that's in next week's episode. But we'll see that kind of stuff, and we'll see Ahsoka and Rex kind of do their whole fake death thing and part ways. Yeah, we do have to see that. Yeah, that'd be cool. I was reading, there were people that are asking like if they're going to do the Dark Disciple arcs and not in this, yeah. Yeah, I was like, no. Maybe in the future, but not now. Yeah. I feel like Dark Disciple, you'd have to do like a movie kind of a deal. Or like a feature thing. Yeah, but they could do something like this, like these special, like longer 4 episodes that's specifically dedicated to it. I don't know if I would really want it though. I don't know, because I like the novel. Like the novel's amazing to me. So it could add something, and if it wasn't that good, you could always lean on the novel. The only thing we don't know is what happens to Quill and Boss after. He's up in the air after that. After Order 66, we have no clue. Maybe this will clear it up for some unknown reason. But like, as far as I know, we haven't. I don't even remember the last episode you see him in Clone Wars. Do you? Like no, because he's not a big component of a lot of them. It could even be that time that he's like with Obi-Wan on that random mission. I don't know if he's probably in the background of like a Clone Wars episode when they're like at the temple or something. Yeah. Well, I don't know, because I feel like he would stand out. Like, he's supposed to be on. Was that originally, or I'll look this up. This is too long a subject. He was originally supposed to be on Kashyyyk with Yoda, and I'm not sure if that's still canon or if that was just an idea and then they scrapped it. Yeah, because he disappeared before that, because that would have happened with Dooku. Dooku was still alive. Dooku's still alive. Right, so it would have happened before Order 66. Yep. And Quinlan disappeared, so that must not be canon anymore. Originally, he was on Kashyyyk with, in like a pre-script or in the film before they like went on the editing floor, he was with Yoda on Kashyyyk for that battle. But that would have happened after the book, which he leaves. So it couldn't have been him.
Yeah, the novel. The last part of the novel, he's with the Night Sisters, or he's putting Ventress. Oh, that's an interesting thing. Oh, maybe I'm. So it has to happen after season 5. It has to happen during season 6. Obviously, it's before Dooku dies. So somewhere along the lines, Ventress dies in the novel, and then you have to see what the last appearance of Ventress is in season 6. I think that's where you kind of then you start to piece together.
That's where it was supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because she dies in the novel, and then the very last part of the novel, he's at
Dathomir,
and placing her body or soul reunited with her Night Sisters.
Yeah.
So it's a.
Well, that could have been around the time Grievous attacks, right, and wipes out the Night Sisters. So maybe he's there. I don't know. It's undecided right now in canon. So.
Yeah, it would be cool if they explore that, because that's one of my, like I said, one of my favorite novels. I love that whole arc.
Yeah.
And that added a lot more to me for Ventress. Like I listened to audiobook, I read the book. Like Ventress in the audiobook is 10, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but I had to go off side topic there, but it's definitely, there's still some stuff they can still explore during that time period for sure.
Yep. All right, cool.
Yeah, I think that wraps up this episode of Pod Between Worlds, our first episode. So, as always, check out our Twitch, follow us on Twitch or YouTube or Spotify, all the streaming services for podcasts. We're all over the place with social and stuff, but make sure you give us a comment, a like, sub, whatever. We appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys next time.
Later.